Welcome back to Conflicts of Interest. This is episode 839, and today is September 22nd, 2025. I'm the host of the show, Kyle Anzalone. A lot of news to talk about in today's show. First, need to mention the sponsor of today's episode, and that is the Expat Money Summit 2025. Mikhail Thorup and his team put on a fantastic event. It's online, so no need to travel, and if you go to expatmoneysummit.com, you could get your free ticket. Now, what will you learn if you attend this event? It's how to craft your perfect plan B. If, for financial reasons or instability reasons, you decide you no longer want to live in the U.S., how do you get yourself, your family, your finances, buy property offshore? What are safe countries to do that in? Where can you do that? All those important questions will be answered at the Expat Money Summit. So this event is going to take place over 3 days in October, the 10th through the 12th. So you got a couple weeks here still to sign up and claim your free ticket. Additionally, Mikhail Thorup, who is also the host of the Expat Money Show, has a VIP portion of his event. So there, I will be on one of the panels discussing American foreign policy, and there's going to be other great VIP panels. So again, expatmoneysummit.com. If you want the VIP ticket, use the promo code Kyle, Kyle, when you check out to save 20% off. All right, now before we get into the articles today, just want to remind people to subscribe to my other show, The Kyle Anzalone Show, and to follow me on X at Kyle Anzalone_, where I post everything I write, all my articles, all my shows. Very easy way to keep track of everything, because typically I'm writing for a variety of websites, antiwar.com, and then the Libertarian Institute and judgenap.com as well. All right, let's get into it. First article here today from Dave DeCamp, antiwar.com, September 21st. U.S. War Department considers using Charlie Kirk's assassination for a military recruitment campaign. And it's just, you can't believe how everybody is trying to grift off of Charlie Kirk's death. I mean, it really is just disgusting how everybody is trying to bend and shape this guy's image into something profitable from them now that he's dead. I mean, I don't even think he's in the ground yet, and everything's just about fundraising money off his death, using it to further your political goals. And to me, this is one of the more disturbing. So this is from NBC News, originally reported that officials at the U.S. War Department are considering using the assassination of conservative political activist Charlie Kirk as a tool for a new military recruitment campaign. The report said that officials are considering using chapters of Turning Point USA, a political organization founded by Kirk, as recruitment centers. Possible slogans for the effort that officials have discussed include "Charlie has awakened a generation of warriors." Some of the officials are resistant to the idea, warning the recruitment campaign can be seen as the Pentagon capitalizing on Kirk's death, which obviously it is. Kirk, who was only 31 years old when he died, never served in the military. When asked about the potential recruiting campaign, a Pentagon spokesman appeared to deny it. He told NBC News, "The media is so desperate to attack this administration's sources that they are now inventing lies about our recruitment efforts. Leadership matters, and under the strong leadership of President Trump and Secretary Hegseth, men and women are coming out in droves to serve this great nation." And it's not direct denial. We've seen this from Hegseth, where even when he does something wrong, like say the Signal chat where he had all these people with classified clearances discussing, including a journalist, by the way, discussing the strikes in Yemen before they happened. When that was brought to me, oh, the lying news media just hates me and Donald Trump, blah, 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 blah. And so it kind of seems like the same thing. It's a denial, but it's not a full-on denial. And if they really weren't doing it at all, they probably just would have said no. And the fact that they're, trying to claim it as the media's desperate attack makes me think that they're probably planning this. So on Saturday, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth posted a video on X of himself reciting the Lord's Prayer, which he said was for Charlie, accompanied by a montage of scenes demonstrating U.S. military power, including missiles being fired, naval warships, fighter jets, bombers, and U.S. troops in action. And so this is, of course, very clearly to me the first kind of prong of this effort, right? Where, we already have Hegseth, mixing Charlie's death in with military recruitment, and that's probably only going to tick up in the future. All right, next here, Trump says 3 killed in the latest U.S. bombing of a boat in Latin America. So President Trump said on Friday that the U.S. military bombed another boat in the U.S. Southern Command's area of responsibility, which includes the Caribbean and most of South America. The president claimed without evidence that U.S. intelligence showed that the boat was carrying drugs and that 3 narco-terrorists were killed. While Trump didn't specify exactly where the bombing occurred, previous U.S. military strikes on boats targeted vessels in the Caribbean that had left Venezuela. And so this is what Trump wrote on Truth Social. On my orders, the Secretary of War ordered a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel affiliated with a designated terrorist organization conducting narco trafficking in Southcom area of responsibility. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was trafficking illicit narcotics and was transiting along a known narco terrorist passage en route to poison Americans. The strike killed 3 male narco-terrorists aboard the vessel, which was in international waters. Trump's post includes a video purporting to show the strike on the boat. He did not specify when the boat was bombed, but it marks at least the 3rd time that the U.S. military has taken such action against vessels in the regions. According to numbers released by Trump, at least 17 people have been extrajudicially killed by the U.S. military since the campaign began. Democrats are now looking to rein in the U.S. military campaign and have introduced a war powers resolution that would stop the strikes on the boats. Unfortunately, I don't think that the U.S. war powers resolution is going to help. We saw during Trump's first administration with Yemen when we tried to enact a war powers resolution there that actually passed the House and the Senate. Trump vetoed it. And so even say the Democrats maybe convinced Rand Paul and 1 or 2 other Republicans, maybe a more moderate Republican like Lisa Murkowski, who's not firmly in Trump's camp, or I don't know, I mean, this seems like a stretch, but a more constitutionalist-minded Republican like Mike Lee, and they're able to get this through the Senate, and then in the House, they maybe get the Freedom Caucus on board, and so this passes. There's certainly no chance that this would survive a Trump veto. It's not going to get 2/3 in the House and the Senate. And so I think the war powers resolution is effectively not enough to stop Trump here. I think the only thing that could stop Trump is a massive public outcry that we don't want another regime change war in our own hemisphere, which certainly seems to be the way that this is going. But right now, there's just not enough media attention on this, and there's so much else going on. Even people who do care about U.S. military action overseas are probably just, focused on Ukraine and Gaza and China and all the other U.S. interventions that Venezuela is flying under the radar. The risk here is that we end up in an actual conflict before Americans realize how far down this road Trump is taking us. Well, if that wasn't bad news enough, this next story is absolutely astounding. Taliban respond to Trump's threat. U.S. return to Bagram not possible. I wrote this one for the Institute on the 21st. President Donald Trump threatened that bad things will happen if the Taliban do not allow the U.S. to reestablish the Bagram Air Base. The Taliban said they would not allow the U.S. to return to the military facility. And of course, the Bagram Air Base was the U.S.'s largest military facility during our 2-decade-long occupation and war in Afghanistan. I think one of the things I just want to take some time to highlight here off the top real quick that I haven't included in my articles on this. Bagram is at pretty high altitude. It's not an easy runway to land on. And if the U.S. really wanted to do this, I'm not sure logistically how possible it would be. Let's just say, right, for example, the Taliban, they don't have air defenses. They have a limited amount of military capabilities. And let's say the U.S. wanted to take Bagram back by just reinvading it. We're going to target the Taliban that are there, maybe with some bombing runs. And once they're gone, we'll start landing our military aircraft at the facility, and then we'll establish the position from there. Now, I'm not even sure that part of the operation is possible, but the long-term sustainability of, you're going to need a lot of troops there to man that facility, which means you need all kinds of resources consistently coming in, water, food, medical supplies. You're going to need to rotate troops in and out. I'm not sure that this is actually a long-term practical, sustainable operation that could be accomplished. This seems like absolute insanity to me. But Donald Trump has now talked about this a couple times, so let's get into it. On Friday, during a press conference with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Trump explained that the U.S. made a mistake by withdrawing from the Bagram Air Base and would have kept the facility if he were president. However, Trump signed the agreement with the Taliban that led to the withdrawal from Afghanistan, including from the Bagram Air Base. And so, this is one of those things where Donald Trump was left office, right? He signs this agreement with the Taliban, agreeing to withdraw from Afghanistan May 2020. Biden comes in, and of course, Trump is Orange Hitler, and so the Democrats have to change up the plan a little bit, and they end up pushing the withdrawal date back to, I believe, September 11th was the official date. We end up leaving on August 31st, and what happens there is the U.S. withdraws from Bagram first, leaving the Kabul airport as our main exit facility, which isn't as defensible as a military, as you could imagine. A civilian airport located in a city is not anywhere nearly as easy to defend as a remotely located military base. Now, I do think there's like a town and a village around Bagram that was built up during the Afghan war. And so it's not as if, there's no civilians around, but it's not in Kabul, right? And it's, again, a pretty high altitude, not exactly easy to get to. And so the Biden withdrawal strategy from Afghanistan was an absolute catastrophe that it deserves an enormous amount of criticism. It ended up with 13 of our soldiers being killed, hundreds of Afghans being killed. The Taliban takeover of Afghanistan in a way it probably didn't need to happen, except for the way that Biden handled that withdrawal. However, Trump is basically saying that he wasn't going to withdraw. And again, I really have to question, maybe I'll have to try to get somebody like Douglas McGregor on the show again to ask, just how sustainable would we be able to fly in enough supplies, rotate troops in and out of Bagram in a way where we're not constantly having to bomb the Taliban, and that, we're not having to bring trucks full of aid from Pakistan up to the Bagram Air Base as we were doing before. So, again, I'm not sure what Trump is actually arguing for and suggesting here. He's kind of saying that he wasn't going to follow his own withdrawal agreement. And, this is the problem with Donald Trump, is sometimes he does understand the problems of the U.S. government, but he doesn't surround himself with the right people. And so when they explain the solutions to him, he doesn't even understand the problems with what his advisors are telling him. And it just leads to horrible policy. So Trump says he is now looking to reestablish the military facility. He said, "We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back," by the way. That could be a little breaking news. "We're trying to get it back because they need things from us." The president doubled down on a post in Truth Social, writing, "If Afghanistan doesn't give Bagram Air Base back to those who built it, the United States of America, bad things are going to happen." And bad things are going to happen, for those of you just listening, is written in all caps with 3 exclamation points. So an Afghan government defense official said Sunday that a deal over Bagram Air Base was not possible. This is the chief of staff of the Afghan Ministry of Defense. Recently, some people have said that they have entered negotiations with Afghanistan for taking back Bagram Air Base. A deal over even an inch of Afghanistan soil is not possible. We do not need it. Trump says Bagram is in a strategic position near China's nuclear weapons facility. We want that base back, but one of the reasons we want that base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. I have no idea what particular benefit the U.S. thinks they would get from reestablishing the base near Bagram as far as the Chinese nuclear facilities go. I'm not even sure it's possible to operate B-2 bombers out of that facility. I think they had B-1 bombers there before, but certainly if they were going to, say, attack China, they would need the B-2 bombers, or why having them at Bagram would be any more strategic than Diego Garcia or anywhere else of the U.S. military installations in the Middle East who can handle the B-2 facilities. Or, the B-2 bombers, because, these aircraft require massive runways and reinforced runways and things like that. It's not just you throw down a sheet of asphalt and then you could take off and land B-52s for an extended period of time. I'm not sure what the benefit there is. My guess is that most of the intelligence that we would collect from the air could also be collected through satellites. And so I don't think there's any particular... we're going to run a bunch of spy planes out of that facility, and that's going to give us some unique intelligence that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get. I'm sure we operate spy planes out of Pakistan and could likely just fly them into Afghanistan at a high altitude and really not have to worry. So I don't understand what strategic benefit Trump thinks that we actually get from this, other than he's not a very smart man. And people show him maps that look like wrist boards, and, they put different pieces there, and every time a piece goes down, he thinks it's a victory. And so by putting 10,000 or so American troops in an isolated region of Afghanistan, looks good if you're just trying to color in the map, but I don't think really is going to do much as far as strategic military capabilities. It seems like just a massive, massive mistake. So the president did not say what he plans to do to restore America's largest military facility of the 2-decade-long occupation of Afghanistan. He said, "We won't talk about that, but we're now talking about Afghanistan, and we want it back, and we want it back soon, right away. And if you don't do that, you're going to find out what I'm going to do." So again, more threats from Donald Trump, and hopefully ones that he just has no intention of following through with. All right, here, moving on to some stories about Israel. This one I wrote for antiwar.com on September 18th. Half of Americans believe Israel has gone too far in Gaza. A new poll shows that half of Americans say the Israeli onslaught in Gaza has gone too far. Israel has killed at least 65,000 Palestinians, and hundreds of thousands of people have been pushed into a state of famine. The AP NORC survey asked Americans if Israeli military operations in Gaza had gone too far, and that's the phrase they use, gone too far, not gone far enough. 49% of respondents said that Israel had gone too far, while only 12% replied Israel had not gone far enough. And so apparently 12% of the American... Well, that's not true, because I'm sure that some people just don't pay enough attention or don't understand the question or something like that and probably give the wrong answer. But there's some percentage of Americans who really believe that, and that is highly, highly disturbing, that there are some real lunatics and people who lust for genocide walking among us. I don't know, maybe they called some congressman or something, and Randy Fine was able to boost the numbers for the people who think Israel isn't going too far. So several international organizations have deemed Israel to be committing the crime of genocide. Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Senator Bernie Sanders are among a small number of American lawmakers who have also said that Israel is conducting a genocide in Gaza. On Tuesday, an independent UN inquiry released a report concluding that Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. The head of the commission said, "The responsibilities for these atrocity crimes lies with the Israeli authorities at the highest echelons who have orchestrated a genocidal campaign for almost 2 years now with the specific intent to destroy the Palestinian group in Gaza. Over the past 23 months, Israel has reduced most of the strip to rubble. The Gaza Health Ministry has recorded 65,000 deaths. The true death toll is unclear, as tens of thousands of Palestinians are believed to be dead under the rubble." Still, President Donald Trump has given Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu near unconditional support to wage war. Overall, Americans disapprove of Trump's handling of the war. The AP North poll found that only 37% of Americans approve of Trump's Israel policy, while about 3 in 4 Republicans of the approve of the president's handling of the conflict. Democrats and independents overwhelmingly oppose Trump's Israel policy. And I think those independents are important, right? Because Republicans kind of reflexively support Trump. Democrats are reflexively against him. But the independents, I think like 27%, a quarter of them support Trump's Israel policy. So it's becoming more and more clear to people that this is just a genocide. All right, I thought this story was pretty important. This is one I wrote for antiwar.com on September 18th. Discussions before Iran war indicate nuclear weapons issue was less pressing than Netanyahu claimed. And so private discussions between Israeli officials before launching the war against Iran in June indicate that Tehran's development of nuclear weapons was not an immediate concern. At the time, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Iran's nuclear program was an immediate threat. And so this is something that Netanyahu said at a top secret meeting the day before launching the war. "We are at a historic moment with a crucial decision. If we don't stop them within a few years, they will have tens of thousands of kilograms of nuclear explosives. Iran has already enriched fissile material at a level high enough for 8 or 9 bombs, and they are working on weaponization." So again, he's talking about years. He's not saying within a few days or a few weeks, as he was saying publicly, Iran will have a nuclear bomb. He's saying that in a few years, they will have tens of thousands of kilograms of nuclear explosives. Now, he is saying that they are working on weaponization. They have enough fissile material. But again, that statement certainly doesn't sound as pressing as he was making it sound in public. Now, this is important. So, according to the Times of Israel, one unnamed senior military official said the attack would prevent Iran from getting nuclear weapons in the long term. Again, they're not saying in the short term, in the immediate. That's what they were saying publicly. That's what they were selling this war to the American and the Israeli people on, that this was needed for the immediate prevention of Iran developing a nuclear warhead. And in private discussions, they're saying years, in the long term, and that there are other goals like improving Israel's strategic balance. So publicly, Netanyahu gave far more alarming warnings about Tehran's breakout time to build a nuclear weapon. He said Iran's nuclear teams were racing to build nuclear warheads. The Israeli intelligence agency Mossad claimed that Iran could assemble a nuclear weapon within 15 days. The private discussions also revealed that Israeli officials believed they would not be able to destroy Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium and were depending on Trump entering the conflict. So one official said, "The basic assumption is that at the end of the operation, Iran still possesses enriched material." And so again, going back to Netanyahu's statement saying they have enough material to build 8 or 9 bombs, the official is saying before the conflict that the basic assumption of Tel Aviv, of Netanyahu's administration, when they were making the decision to bomb Iran, wasn't that they needed to destroy the existing Iranian nuclear enrichment material. They knew that would still exist after the war. So again, this is clear that this wasn't an immediate concern. And by the way, all these statements were obtained by Israeli, I believe, Channel 13 News. So, these are from Netanyahu-friendly sources. Tel Aviv, the discussions also revealed that Tel Aviv needed the U.S. to destroy the Fordo nuclear facility. One senior official admitted Fordo will only be destroyed if the U.S. attacks it, and Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer was confident that Trump would decide to bomb Fordo and provide Israel with assistance in shooting down Iranian missiles. The conversations additionally revealed that Tel Aviv was trying to overthrow the Iranian government, not just destroy its nuclear and ballistic missile facilities. And so, again, just some real insights onto the true reasons and nature of the Israeli war against the Iranians. All right, moving on to this article that I wrote for the Libertarian Institute on September 19th. Trump is preparing a $6 billion arms package for Israel. The White House informed Congress that it is preparing a massive arms sale to Israel, including attack helicopters and military vehicles. The weapons will be paid for with U.S. military aid. According to the Wall Street Journal, the total value of the weapons deal is $6 billion. The sale is $3.8 billion for 30 AH-64 Apache helicopters and $1.9 billion for 3,250 infantry assault vehicles. Now, I wanted to take a second to highlight the infantry assault vehicles just to say that Israel has been using some older explosives and older APCs. Those are armored personnel carriers. As suicide APCs are car bombs, as ISIS would call them. And so what they do is they load one of these old APCs up with explosives. They use a remote system to drive it to the target, and then they blow it up. Massive explosion. Really disgusting that we're helping a country carry out car bomb attacks as a part of their genocide and ethnic cleansing in Gaza. And so I think the need for thousands of infantry assault vehicles are likely that Israel has burned through some of its APCs, using them as car bombs. So Washington will pay for the arms with foreign military financing. This isn't a weapon sale to Israel that the Israelis are paying for. Just remember, this is a weapon sale that the Americans are paying for. So the U.S. provides Israel with at least $3.8 billion in military aid annually. Washington has boosted assistance to Tel Aviv following the October 7th Hamas attack. In the first year of the Israeli onslaught in Gaza, the U.S. sent Israel nearly $18 billion in aid. The weapons will begin arriving in Israel in 2 to 3 years. And so obviously the math here, I just want to go kind of explain this. We provide them with $3.8 billion in military aid annually. Now, these weapons won't begin arriving until the next year or two. And so it's not as if, I guess, we need to, because this is I think actually $6.4 billion total sale. There's some other things thrown in there. So that's like 2 years, right, worth of the annual aid that we give Israel. Now, I think it's possible that, of course, they're planning on using the 2026 and the 2027 pools of foreign military financing for Israel to pay for this arms sale. But that would use up nearly all the total. And additionally, I think Trump has already agreed previously in his administration to use some of the funding. So it's not as if they have that full 3.8, or I guess that would be over 2 years, 7.6 billion to use on this weapons package. And additionally, Israel is going to ask for more weapons in the future. And so I do think the math here to me indicates that Trump and the Republicans are preparing another additional supplemental military aid package for Israel sometime in the coming year. Probably not going to be as large as the 17 billion or 14 billion that was approved under Biden as a part of this military aid package that included like 60 billion for the Ukrainians, a few billion, 14 billion for Taiwan and the Indo-Pacific. But I do think it suggests that they're considering giving Israel more funding, more funding in the future, in addition to the 3.8 billion annually. All right, so another important part of this, of course, is the report of the package follows Israel's attempt to assassinate Hamas leadership in Qatar. The strikes angered Doha, a major non-NATO U.S. ally. Qatar is committed to investing over $1 trillion in the U.S. economy and gifted Trump a luxury aircraft. And so particularly the investments in the U.S. economy, if you wonder what would be the best for the American citizens, it doesn't seem to be continuing to provide Israel with weapons and, kind of giving them green lights after they've done things that are going to probably impact in a negative way the U.S. economy. So additionally, the assassination attempt prevented Trump from initiating talks to end the war in Gaza and free the Israeli hostages. The strikes occurred as the Hamas leadership was meeting to discuss a proposal sent by Trump. Qatar said the attempted assassination ended any chances of reaching a hostage agreement. And so again, Israel just does something that hurts Americans, hurts the U.S. ally, hurts Trump personally, hurts his attempt for a PR victory at ending the conflict in Gaza and getting the hostages released. And he still is then going to send them $6.4 billion in aid paid for by the American taxpayers. Absolutely absurd. So the White House is currently pushing congressional leadership to endorse the sale, and I'm sure they're going to do it. So next up here, this one I wrote for the Institute on September 21st. Netanyahu vows to never allow a Palestinian state. So following several Western countries' support for the creation of a Palestinian state, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised never to allow the two-state solution to occur. On Sunday, the UK, Canada, Australia, and also Portugal, I believe, I saw that after I wrote this article, officially recognized the state of Palestine. Over the summer, the nations announced they would move to recognize Ramallah if Tel Aviv did not end the onslaught and siege of Gaza. Keir Starmer, that's the UK Prime Minister, said in a video address, "We are acting to keep alive the possibility of peace and a two-state solution. This means a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable Palestinian state. At this moment, we have neither." Netanyahu claimed the UK, Canada, and Australia were supporting terrorism, and he had worked for a long time to prevent the creation of a Palestinian state. He said, "I have a clear message to those leaders who recognize a Palestinian state after the terrible massacre on October 7th. You are giving a huge reward to terrorism, and I have another message for you. It will not happen. A Palestinian state will never be established west of the Jordan River." However, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that Hamas could have no role in a future Palestinian state and condemned the October 7th attack. And so Netanyahu is making it sound like that these states just recognize Hamas-led Gaza as a state, and that's not what they're doing at all. They're recognizing the Palestinian state in the West Bank led by the Palestinian Authority. So, Israeli officials have recently said a Palestinian state is no longer possible because of Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank. The finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, recently announced a new settlement that will bisect the West Bank and, in his words, bury the idea of a Palestinian state. Netanyahu said that Tel Aviv will accelerate settlement expansion in response to more states recognizing Palestine. He said, "Indeed, we doubled the Jewish settlements in Judea and Samaria, and we will continue on this path." At this point, over 150 states have now recognized Palestine as a member of the UN. As long as Israel keeps the U.S. on their side, I think they're going to be able to kind of slow down through this process of Palestine actually becoming a state as Israel is slowly erasing Palestine from the map. This one, JudgeNap.com, September 21st. Israeli forces push deeper into Gaza City, killing at least 37. Israeli military operations in Gaza City are devastating the civilians. Hundreds of thousands have been forced to flee. Dozens of Palestinians are killed in the city every day. According to Al Jazeera, at least 68 people were killed across the Strip on Sunday, including 37 in Gaza City. Israel has pounded Gaza City after beginning new military operations in the area. Palestinians report being unable to follow the evacuation order, leading to chaos. They told us we had to evacuate the school quickly. We left our belongings behind and even my children. I don't know where they are, one Palestinian told Al Jazeera. She continued, we don't know where we're going, but we are not leaving Gaza City. We have nowhere else to go. We have no money to keep moving. A second displaced person said, Palestinians are being displaced again, thrown into the streets with no shelter, no tents, not even a makeshift cover. The IDF reports that 500,000 Palestinians have left Gaza City since Israel began issuing evacuation orders. I suspect that the Israelis are overestimating how many Palestinians have fled in order to make their ruthless bombing campaign of the city not seem worse. The latest number I read from a Palestinian source was 800,000. And so, and again, Palestinians are leaving every day. And so 800,000 becomes 700,000, but it doesn't necessarily become 500,000 overnight, especially when a lot of Palestinians are reporting that it's not a matter of will. It's not that they want to stay in Gaza City. It's that they can't get out. There's no transportation. They don't know where they're going to go. They have a handicapped child, a disabled elderly member of their family. It's not possible to walk 6-8 miles. So they need a car of some kind. Also, if you're walking, you can only have what you carry on your back. If you have, I have a 1-year-old girl right now. I cannot imagine surviving a day. Like if I just had what I could carry in her, I don't know if I can make it through the day. And these people had to survive for months or years. And so they need not only to take what they could carry, but, a cart's load of stuff. But that costs like $1,000 to get out of the city at this point. And so it's really a bad time for the Palestinians there. This is one of the worst parts of the Israeli bombing campaign. The battle plans call for the heaviest military operations ever conducted in the Strip against Gaza City. And looking from the videos of it, how much of the infrastructure they're destroying, it certainly seems like that's the case. So the IDF says that they're pushing deeper into Gaza City, and the battle plans called for moving slow to reduce the number of Israeli casualties and rely more on bombing, which will lead to more civilian casualties, of course. All right, next up here, another one from JudgeNap.com, September 21st. Trump to ask Arab leaders to send security forces to Gaza post-war. President Donald Trump is planning to meet with several Arab leaders this week. Officials said that he wants to discuss what Gaza will look like after the Israeli onslaught ends. According to Axios, the White House has sent invites to the leaders of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, and Turkey for a summit with Trump on the sidelines of the UN summit this week. Trump will ask the Arab states to consider deploying a security force to Gaza after the Israeli forces withdraw. Israeli officials have previously ruled out any foreign forces entering Gaza after it ends the genocidal rampage. Tel Aviv has destroyed most of the infrastructure in this strip and killed at least 65,000 Palestinians. Trump has discussed turning Gaza into a tourist and tech hub once most of the Palestinians are expelled by Israel. Israeli officials have called for ethnically cleansing the strip, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Tel Aviv is seeking third countries to take the Palestinians. Arab officials speaking with Axios said the leaders plan to raise a number of issues with Trump, including pressing Israel to end military operations in Gaza, preventing Tel Aviv from annexing portions of the West Bank, and preventing Israeli strikes on Arab states. Relations between Washington and Doha strained after Netanyahu ordered the assassination attack on Hamas leadership into Qatar. While the strikes failed to kill Hamas leaders who are meeting to discuss an exchange proposed by Trump, at least 6 people were killed in the attack. Last up here, this article I wrote for the Libertarian Institute on September 21st. U.S. claims to kill a senior ISIS member in Syria. So the U.S. claims to have carried out a joint raid with the Iraqi security forces inside Syria. The Iraqi security forces said it was an air raid. They claim to have killed Omar Abdul Qaidar, and this person is alleged by the Iraqi security forces to be behind the 2013 bombing of the Iranian embassy in Lebanon, excuse me. And so a couple interesting things here. First of all, it seems that this guy, his main terrorism was directed at the Shia, and so kind of surprised the U.S. was interested in taking him out for that reason. There were no other mentions about anybody else killed in the attack. I don't know, unlikely that this guy was just driving around, walking around by himself. And so my guess is there are additional casualties. Maybe this person was killed, maybe he wasn't. We're really just relying on statements from Washington and Baghdad for this story, because I haven't seen any independent journalists be able to get out there or figure out if this man was really killed. Last point on all this, the U.S. has done this for decades now, where we kill leadership of these different terrorist organizations, and it never seems to really stifle the overall number of these terrorist groups, or even what kind of operations they are able to carry out. This guy may have been an effective leader, and the next person may be more radical, more charismatic, and be able to rally more people to his cause. So I'm not saying we just leave these people out there to plot attacks. At the same time, just know that these military operations, while always portrayed as a success, may not actually have the same impact that it would seem because you killed this guy. All right, that's where I'll wrap up the show for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Check out and subscribe to the Kyle Anzalone Show. A couple big interviews coming up this week. On Monday, that's today at 4:45 Eastern, the great Dave DeCamp returns to the show. And then on Wednesday, I have Andrew Dayboot. He's one of the editors over at TAC. I'm really excited to talk to him about Trump's foreign policy. Thanks, everyone.